of the year. So this will be our last, like, just hobby chat or hobby stream we have of the year. It's hard to believe another year's already over.
Yeah, no, it is kind of crazy that year, 2020, I feel it went by pretty quickly just because of, how, well, quickly and slowly in some sense, in that everything was so different for a
Yeah.
while just because of COVID and
Hmm.
not knowing how to do things or everyone coming to terms with that. And then after those first few months of that, like it went into spring and then it was summer and then like the months just sort of evaporated, it seems like.
Yeah. No, it's been interesting. So I guess we can move into just sort of talking about what we've been working on hobby-wise. I don't have any pictures up currently for stuff that I've been working on, but I played around a little bit with the that new orc model that was released,
Hmm.
the Warhammer Commemorative Series orc, Gorzak, Git Stompa, and Nickit. And so I don't know, maybe later in this stream I'll show what I've been working on with the model, but it's largely just been making some small modifications to the model itself. Overall, the model looks pretty good. Um, and I sort of feel like a lot of the changes and stuff that once I'm done making them, you might not even realize a whole lot was changed, aside from maybe
Hmm.
his pistol. Yeah. Eric, you were able to start working on stuff, right?
Yeah, now I've continued to assemble this one high high grade RX-78 Gundam model. It's a 40th anniversary model, kind of commemorating, the original sort of Gundam series. And I assembled it pretty much just straight out the box. I glued some things, but a lot of it I didn't even need to glue. Like it snaps together so well and securely. But um I think I need to assemble his laser rifle, but then it's finished. I painted a little bit for his eyes, and but I'll probably try to do a little bit of weathering, like the one real grade Zaku I
Mm-hmm. Did it come with
built a while back.
the bazooka thing too, or no?
Nah, just like a laser rifle.
Okay. Well, that's good. Then you don't have to assemble the bazooka.
Yeah, it's true. But it's a really nice model. Has a lot of nice points of articulation and a fair amount of impressive, like, sort of colored detail, like, on its like, the groin armor, there's, like, a little wing emblem.
Hmm.
It's yellow and, like, the red, and that's just, like, a separate little piece that slots in together, and on its shield, there's, like, a yellow cross and various things. Like, they did a good job of interlocking different color pieces together to make the model look really nice even without any sort of painting.
The proportions of it are pretty different from the standard Gundam that I imagine. Like its head's pretty small.
It's all legs, I feel.
Yeah.
The head is awfully small
I don't
looking.
know if I love that.
Yeah, I to me, I don't think it's as much the head being small. I mean, it is,
Or
but I think the
yeah, maybe
biggest
it
thing
is. The legs are huge.
is the torso is really small.
Hmm.
N- Actually, no, the torso's small, but the head's kind of small. But mainly, it's just the leg. are really large. They're long and
Well, it would be
bulky.
neat to get one of the, or it would be interesting to get one of the other RX kits to
Well,
compare.
I feel one of the more recent heavy or HG ones, high grades, was one made for Origin.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel I would like, if I would get any, it would be that one.
Oh,
Because,
there was also like an industrial design one too, right?
you
Maybe
know,
that's
I don't even remember. But I
Yeah, it
was
was
mainly,
designed by some car dude or something.
okay, I was mainly interested in this one because when I saw pictures of it, I was just impressed with the sort of articulation points and such and kind of color separation, despite it being only like $20.
that how much it was.
Like $23, something like that.
Yeah, I remember when it was announced and seeing the pictures and seeing that like at his waist the little yellow V wasn't like a sticker or something. I was amazed.
Well, and even in his that you can't see it that well in this picture, but in his head, they're like little Vulcan cannons, like sort of above his eyes and beneath the rest. And those are actually yellow, like a yellow piece, which are what its eyes are made of that are slotted in behind it. So just yeah, really nice separation and I think pretty good articulation with sort of an underskeleton and whatnot that is very I don't know, stiff. I don't think it's gonna start to sag very quickly.
Okay, here's the other one that I was talking about. Um, this is the industrial design version. This was also made for what it says here 40th anniversary Gunpla 2020, Beyond 40th Gundam since 1979. And yeah, this is the industrial design version. It's another high
Okay.
grade. It was a collaboration between Bandai Hobby Center and Ken Okayama Design. So that's what you were touching on, Greg.
I mean that's cool. I mean there are just lots of them.
A little hard to see with this camera, but the design is a little more angular and like organic looking than
Okay.
the one you have there.
I
Yeah.
almost feel like this one is more like exaggerated anime styling. Like long, thick legs.
Yeah, this one actually looks
Whatnot.
really neat.
But Gundam Origin was pretty cool, and I feel they did a lot to make the mecha designs and stuff seem a little bit more like
The whole thing
War
was going for
Machines.
more real, or they were trying to increase realism and stuff for everything, and you
Hmm.
can tell.
Yeah, I feel like all of the Zaku's and like the pre-production ones and all the mobile suits seemed a lot more like tanks in the
Yeah.
sense of all their like the detail and such on their armor plates and whatnot, and it seemed to emphasize the kind of war aspects of things. Which I mean, admittedly, Gundam has always kind of done that.
Yeah, it has.
But yeah, so it's a cool model, and I feel like we've kind of said multiple times in the past that particularly if you have seen some Gundam shows or whatever in the past or whatever, and like just painting models and building models and such, but have done primarily like worked on Games Workshop stuff, it's worth just getting at least one of the kits, something that you think looks neat, and just mess around with it and assemble it because ultimately most of them are pretty cheap. You can assemble them relatively quickly and without really much effort, they can look pretty good and complete, and you can feel sort of a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. Whereas, I don't know, a bunch of GW models, even if you assemble them, like you kind of feel like you should really paint them to want to put them up on a shelf or something, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that I feel there's just a very different mentality and almost like a design goal going into the models compared to the stuff that GW puts out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's cool. But so I'll try to finish up some of this stuff. I mean, there's not that much to do, but and maybe take some other pictures and whatnot.
Yeah. No, I guess that's one of the things that I would like to do in the coming year. I have during the pandemic times, like the few months during which there was actually somewhat of a quarantine in the United States, I amassed a whole collection of Gundam model kits. So I think next year I would like to actually assemble one of them.
I think I have like 14 or 15.
Well, so I guess
Well, you should
I
assemble one, Greg.
I mostly finished assembling one of a high grade, and so I should probably just finish that and think a little bit more about it. So in sometime next year, I don't remember the name of it, but they're releasing a real grade of the one Xeon mobile suit. It kind of looks like it's like a hovering mobile suit that doesn't really have legs. It has
Oh.
the hands that it can sort of like launch its hands connected to it like cabling. I don't remember what they're
Yeah,
called
that's
now.
fuck, I don't remember what it's called. Char uses that at the end of the series.
Yeah, I sort of feel like that would be a good model to modify and convert kind of a weird 40k something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Xeon. Xeon with a G.
Yeah, okay.
It's the whole thing. It's in space. Yeah, a few months ago I watched the 3 animated movies that kind of summarize what happened in the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. And I mean, they're really good, all things considered, with how much they have to cram into 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the first is maybe the weakest, but I mean, they're good. I would like to watch the whole series sometime, but I know the the movies, they cut out some of the more comical bullshit that the series had. Like the Gundam had the Gundam hammer, which I think was like a big mace, a beam mace thing.
Mm.
They decided was kind of stupid, so they removed that.
Couldn't you imagine that this Xeon thing here, like this could make a really cool like demon prince for the Iron Warriors, or even like a Nurgle type thing. Like,
Yeah, so
I
that could
also
be
could
awesome.
I could see it just functioning as something like for a navigator household or something.
hmm it's cool. And I mean, look at I think they're making like a special version of it where it has like energy effects for like it's like boosters and like I guess its fingers shoot like lasers. Like that looks pretty boss.
Looks vicious.
Yeah.
You got the new Wing Zero custom model, right, Adam?
I do have that. Yeah.
Is the place that I basically bought all of my model kits is there's a little hobby shop here to support them. Basically, whenever they get a new Gundam kit in, I'll buy it. And they just got that in.
It's
I also
cool.
have
Well, did you buy it, Greg?
now.
They'll probably have it for a while.
Maybe. Hey, hi Johnny. Um, they only have one left. My guess is he bought two.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that's something that, at least as Americans, I feel Gundam Wing, at least from our age group, that was something that people watched. So I could see people.
But I have the real grade unit Ava Unit 2 and the real grade Ava Unit 0 as well. I think that Ava Unit 0 has like that sniper rifle thing.
Yeah.
Ava Unit 1, like I had assembled that's pretty great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so this Zeong suit, like, that really looks like you could make a biomechanical, like, Nurgle Demon Prince or something. Like, or anything
Yeah, I feel
like that.
people could do that.
Like, I almost feel like I would like to do something like that, but I've made enough Nurgle shit. Like, I don't need to do that.
How are you doing, Johnny? Anything exciting as you wind down 2020?
Hopefully you had a nice holiday.
Yeah.
Or a nice... Guess the holidays are sort of still upon us. New Year's is soon here. You consider
it
that
is.
a holiday.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, we could mention that over the weekend we had an additional stream with a bunch of friends that ended up using to record a final episode of the podcast this year,
Mm-hmm.
which was pretty fun. And I would encourage anyone who hasn't listened to it to either just listen to it on wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can watch like the whole sort of unedited thing on YouTube. And there's sort of a funny thing at the end after the official thing's recorded that um Eli's talking about King Piss. It's pretty funny.
It is funny.
Wondering if is I don't even know. Is there like a timeline for
There was,
the
like...
Zator thing? I don't
Like, I mean, I
know.
think, like, if you were part of their Patreon, the whole notion of the thing was, like, announced a little earlier, but, like, most other hobbyists and stuff who heard about it when they posted more of the stuff on Instagram, it was essentially they announced most of it at the start of December, and you're supposed to have, like, I think work in progress pictures by the end of December. So they didn't really give you a huge amount of time. Then I think they had some deadlines for sending the completed pictures or whatever you're working on. So I don't know. They never really give you a lot of time for most of the invitationals.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool that they're doing more, or that they're continuing to do some of them. I feel that they're always a little nebulous on what they want to do or who they want to include, and you just have to kind of force your way in if you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in it, just make something. Who cares if you're invited or not invited, or if it's not abundantly clear what they even want, like,
And
whatever.
it seems like a pretty neat setting. It's neat that they're developing Venus and some of like that stuff a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like we certainly don't have time to do something for that. Yeah, or at
Yeah.
least if we wanted to hit that deadline. Admittedly, if we would in the new year, if we convert something like
Well, I'm working on this orc model right now. There it is.
he's going to Venus.
Yeah. No, I mean,
But I guess sort of in relationship to the our final episode of the podcast. At the end of it, we have a question that we ask that's being used as a way to give out some of these versions of this spindle drone from Blackstone Fortress that we think was the coolest model from GW last year. I guess anyone listening to this, we encourage people to try to enter it, and maybe we'll send you one of these little guys. It's not that little.
Hey,
Hey,
Mandarin
Mandarin
Shade.
Shade, nice to have you here.
Yeah, so if you listen to the podcast at the end, we present a question that if you email us the answer, you'll be entered in to a drawing to win one of these spindle drones.
So
Thus
far, we
far,
only have one person has entered, or
Oh.
has
I didn't realize somebody did enter. That's great.
one person did, and they got it right. So the only person who was engaged has gotten it correct.
Was this via Instagram?
It was via Instagram. He was actually, well, I guess, but yeah. So it's, and I think even if you don't really listen to the episode of the podcast, if you go to the YouTube version of it, I have a timestamp essentially where the question is, so you wouldn't even have to listen to it all. But yeah, they're cool.
No, I really like them.
I feel like probably no one bought them.
You should still send the answer, Johnny. I feel you're a prime example of someone who could do something super cool with this. Like, I feel the stuff you tend to create often has this sort of creepy, weird alien vibe to it to begin with, like this model that is slightly alien and a little bit different from most GW stuff. So, like,
Yeah, you should enter too, Mandarin Shade.
yeah, I would rather, like, I mean, ultimately, the question is, I mean, not too hard to find the answer, but it's if the I feel most of the people who have been following us for any length of time probably know, or at least know where to look for it, that ultimately we wanted something that would more likely result in the models being sent to somebody who is actually a fan of the stuff we do, rather than just like comment
that-
on Instagram post and
That's right, Johnny.
and
There are two. so
share
two-
with 3 people.
So two will be given out.
There would fucking better have been two. Like, the box was $110 for
Yeah.
just the two of these and like a whole truckload of cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of neat looking at the sprues. They're a lot more reminiscent of sprues that Games Workshop would have released like 5 to 10 years ago, where they're pretty wide open. There's not a lot on them. But
It's weird, Adam. They aren't all broken. That seems to be.
no, they're not broken. Like, most of what I've received recently from GW has all been screwed up. But they're nice. They were made in 2020.
Okay, that's
That's
cool.
what the sprue tells me.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel if it was like $60 for the box, it would still seem like, it's kind of expensive. But you know what? Like, they're so cool, it's worth it. But like over $100 is just so much for something that, I mean, admittedly, we're not ones to have to like, oh, it needs to have cool rules for us to justify purchasing, because that's not really our thing. But I could see how for a lot of people, even if you don't play that many games, or particularly with COVID, like, you still want to feel like you have made a good investment, and that you could get something out of it. And these, like, it would be so easy to buy them and then not do anything with them.
They are pretty big models too.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like I feel if you did play all the other Blackstone Fortress stuff, like I'm sure there are a few like pretty dedicated people that really wanted to finish that, and we'd buy it just for that reason. But even us, like hell, I actually played the whole boxed game.
Yeah,
So I
and we
feel
have
that's
most of
probably
the
more
other
than a
expansions.
lot. But I
I
didn't
guess
ever buy Ascension.
we did buy the Amble and the Zote, though.
That's true.
Those new Chaos Cultists in, was it Escalation, I think it was called. They didn't float my boat.
I feel if those, because it was more just chaos shit. But if the chaos was more akin to the chaos that were in the initial box set, I feel I could have seen buying it. But
Yeah, because the ones in the initial box game they were good. They were, I think they're some of the nicest chaos, or they are the nicest chaos cultists that they've released, Games Workshop, by like a huge margin. Because we don't talk about the other chaos cultists.
yeah,
Ugh. I don't
I don't know.
like
There's not
them.
much. There wasn't much on the Warhammer community page, right?
I doubt it.
I think there was talk that on New Year's Day, I think there's gonna be um another reveal, kind of like on Christmas Day. They showed some of those Slanesh models, the Hedon Knights of Slanesh. Supposedly they're gonna do kind of a similar thing.
Okay. Well, that's good. I look forward to seeing some more pictures of some of the stuff. I guess one thing, um, I think some of these like Beast and Slanesh Beastmen, like you could use one of them to convert a Minotaur for Blood Bowl, and I think that's what
Wilburweight, they did.
yeah, Wilbur Whately did that for his like Chaos Renegade team. I rather like that because they're a lot cooler than even like the official Forge World model for the Minotaur.
I don't know. I'm pretty impressed with all the Hedon Knights stuff. I
You
think
know,
they
they're cool.
look good.
Beastmen are pretty gnarly. So we switch back to
There was a thing about kind of weak though. In the Warhammer community page, they have a thing about talking about the land speeder and like what the land speeder looked like throughout the years,
mm-hmm.
but they don't. God, it's such a fail.
Okay, I better go and look at it.
Yeah, you should look at it because I was like, oh, this is fun. They're gonna look at all the old models and whatnot, and they literally don't. They don't show the first version of the land speeder, the first metal version. They don't show the second edition metal version.
Do they just show the Forge World one?
Yeah, so they show the Forge World remake of the original metal one, which I mean it's cool they remade that, but if they're talking about what the land speeder looked like before, why wouldn't they show the original in this?
Well,
And
there
then
was the second edition one, and then there
yeah,
was
and there
one
was
before
the
that.
cool second, yeah, so there was the really old one that looked like kind of like that Forge World one. Then there was the I don't know, fatter, more chunky looking second edition one, and then they made
There's
the
the-
third edition one.
They have the plastic scout one that no one remember even existed.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my god. Wait, a new
I-
generation? I didn't even. Oh, I fucking forgot about this. Jesus
Yeah, I
Look at
Christ.
forgot
that
about
picture
the
with-
ATV.
It looks like they just photoshopped in the ATV thing,
They did.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
and, like really badly,
they really phoned that in.
like really badly. Like it looks pathetic. Well, honestly, the land speeder looks photoshopped in too.
It was. Yeah, it was. Oh my god.
Looks so bad.
Yeah, wow, that is a huge fail. Like, they're gonna show the origins of some of this stuff. Show us all the old cool models. Those old Metal Land Speeders were awesome.
Yeah, that's weak.
If
Johnny,
we did
you
more stuff
mentioned-
with Space Marines, we should do that post.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's true. Yeah, so I think the new plastic Lilith model it's nice there's a plastic model, but I think I preferred the old metal one.
There are
Not like
aspects
not
of
the
both
Chris
that are
Fitzpatrick
good.
one. That one was pretty bad. But the I feel this new one isn't bad, but more standing on rocks, which I mean, admittedly, the other one was standing on a pole or something. But I don't think this one's hair looks quite as good, and her daggers
It's too much
are
hair.
too large.
Yeah, her
But, like-
weapons are even larger than the other model.
But I mean, it's not bad.
The biggest thing I would say is I wish they had explored one of the other Dark Eldar special characters, because God knows now, having seen this like almost guarantees that the release of the Codex early next year, there will be no new cool special characters or anything like that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you now don't have to search eBay for the metal version of the Lilith model because you don't want the fine cast version. Now you can just get a plastic one. This one also, it's nice that she's wearing pants.
Yeah.
I have half a mind, like I know I have the metal version of the Lilith model, but half a mind to get the model out and sculpt pants on her to look more like this one.
Yeah, I think Meandering Shade, I think a bunch of GW's stuff for Age of Sigmar I think it's largely been getting better and better. Like since Warcry and whatnot.
Warcry set a template for good looking chaos.
It is funny how
stuff.
much the Hedonites look like Hagen's models that he made like a year or two ago. I guess it was probably a year ago.
They're
But
very
remember,
similar.
GW's release schedule, they make the stuff years in advance.
I don't think it's as certainly some things. I don't think it's as much of a advance as it used to be, honestly. Some of it probably is though. But certainly the sisters, they like kind of talked about that whole process and it didn't take that long. Yeah, no, Meandering Shade. Yeah, why didn't they make a new Azurable Vect? Like, admittedly, I would still like it even more if they explored some of the other characters that used to exist.
Like they
But-
had the Mandrake special character who had a bunch of arms, like the Duke Silicis or whatever. There were a lot of special characters in the third edition book, and then
Well, an
when they-
Azurable Vect also seems like something like they love making
big centerpiece
big
models.
piece models that are hard to do anything with.
Yeah, so like there's still a chance they'll do that, because what was interesting when they released the new range of Dark Eldar models and the codex with them, they removed all of the special characters except for like Drazar and Lilith. And they kept Azrael Vect, but like, can you even buy that model anymore? I doubt it. You probably can't. So they got rid of all the special characters except for that one, and I don't know, it just made them less interesting. Much
A
less
new
interesting.
Slot barge. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean it was like it was a plastic, one of the plastic 3rd edition Raiders with a whole bunch of metal components. Eric, do you know, could you still buy the Ezra Bolvect model? Can you still buy it? You probably
don't think
can't,
so.
right?
I don't think so. I don't think you could for a long time.
Yeah, so they kept that model in the codex for some reason, even though they don't have a model for it.
Like, I don't even think. I feel they probably stopped selling it practically when the plastic, like the updated plastics, were made, and that was like 10 years ago,
It was a while ago.
10 or 11 years ago. Yeah.
It was around the time, Greg, you and I started graduate school.
Yeah, so that's actually probably 11 years. Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
long time. Long time. Yeah, no, yeah, man, dang shit. Yeah, I feel with their current aesthetic with vehicles and such, they would want to update it. In particular, with having them updated the Necron range, like everything is more, I don't know, dynamic and interesting and overly large. Like the Necron, the bunch of their bigger war machines are super tall and all that. Like there's nothing about trying to make them discreet and
Or subtle in any way.
yeah.
I mean, they've had the plastic Raiders for years. So they just
Yeah.
have to modify that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I guess they want people to convert the model. They now at least have plastic incubi models that you could use if you wanted. But the the incubi he had on his command barge or whatever, were a little different. They kind of had cloaks and capes and stuff, so like they were kind of cool. Yeah, well, we'll see what they do. I don't have much. I'm not expecting much. Yeah, I mean, they might surprise us. Like, you'd sort of think they'd have to do something when they release the Dark Eldar Codex next year, but then again, it wouldn't surprise me if they did nothing. Because for the most part, the Dark Eldar range is good. Most of them all, except for the grotesque models, the rest of the range is good. Yeah, the rest of the range is good. Well, they'll probably just release a new plastic version of the Homunculus special character,
Urain
Rackhearth or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Okay, well, so I think one thing we can talk a little bit about. So at the day after Christmas, I went to the local games workshop and got Gorzak Git Stomper. I even spent the time to arrive right when the store opened in case they didn't have many copies of it and everyone really wanted them. I got there early. There was no one there to get the model. When I was in the shop, a few other people came in. They didn't care about the model.
No one, it's not a Space Marine. No one cares.
Oh,
I mean, I think that's legitimately the sad truth.
I think
Or at
that
the
is
very
the
least,
sad
it's
truth.
not It's not from the Imperium. I guess if it was Pride Chaos, people would have cared for that because it's Space Marines.
Yeah, but regardless, I got the model, and I've in the little free time I've had amidst work and such, I've started trimming and like modifying the model. There are a couple things that are really interesting about the model. Let's see. Maybe let's try and zoom in a little bit. The first thing that I noticed, was they have a new smaller base for the Gretchen. Like, it's smaller than a 28mm base. So, like, I don't know if they've ever...
Is it smaller than a 25 too? Is it 25 was the standard? I don't even
Pretty
remember.
sure this base in the center is their standard base, which I don't... Or 28... I don't think it's actually 28mm, but this is their standard base. Then there's this new one for the Gretchen. And this, I think, is the 32mm one. Here's like the Terminator base.
The 40, 32. Well, isn't there also a 28mm that was introduced just for Warcry?
I mean, maybe it's like I don't have. I have a tape measure here.
Yeah, so that's 25mm was the old one. Then they made a 32 for Primaris. Then they went back and made a legitimately 28 one for Warcry. And my wondering would be, are we sure the small one isn't just 25 and that middle one is the 28
That's possible.
that few models actually use?
I mean, that's possible because all these bases that I have here are Warcry based. Actually, maybe it says in the book.
I'm almost certain that one's a 28 because it's too nice looking because it doesn't have a divot in the center.
It's true.
Like, I don't think they made 20 or haven't for a while made 25mm bases that don't.
Yeah, so maybe it's just
Have
it's
the
been
divot.
so long since but it still looks really small.
I think that is what it is.
Yeah, so I'd have to get a real measuring device to do this properly. But I don't know.
Why don't you have a caliper there?
I should have a caliper. Like, I really need to get one. But I've never spent the money to actually buy one. Like, but I feel that would be something I could actually use and would like based on everything that I work on. So one of the first things that I noticed about the model, what does this look like? Okay, yeah. The model has a holster, an empty holster on the side of the model, and like it's really wonky. Like, the angle of the leather is really weird, and the weirdest part is on the bottom of it. It almost looks as if there's like detailing for like the barrel of a pistol. Though, and it doesn't look like it's like leather that was fashioned out to fit the barrel. It looks like they just forgot to remove the barrel of the holster, even though the pistol's empty.
I feel that
holster's
is the
empty.
most likely thing.
And then also, if you look on the inner side of the holster, they didn't fully fill in all of this area here with plastic like they should have. And like normally you'd think like, oh, well, that's because it's going to be covered when you glue the model together. But when you glue the model together, it's not covered. Probably going to be hard to see here, but it's not covered. So the pistol in general, the holster in general, is just really weird. So that that needs to change. I will trim it up and probably reshape it. And then the other thing, the holster was made empty to accommodate his slugger. And I mean, as you could have guessed, they aren't
don't
even
fit.
remotely sized correctly for the slugger to fit in the holster. Like, it's not even close. Even if you'd remove the magazine, it's not close. And then
Yeah.
the slugger itself is also, the width of it is way too big as well. Even if the holster is stretched, like, it's not close. It's not close at all. So that was the first thing that I noticed. It was about what I was expecting, but yeah, so that was a thing. Also,
I do like the muscles and like it looks, looking at how his arm attaches, like the gun arm attaches, it's nice to see that how his arm attaches, like the musculature makes sense. Whereas, because I feel that was one of the major sort of oddities about the older Brian Nelson regular orcs, because of the insistence on having it multi-part, so you can do whatever you want, made it such that their arms wouldn't really attach in a natural way.
yeah, and so that was an obvious problem, which a lot of the like Age of Sigmar orcs, they fix that, and they're not really multi-part at all, but their arm attachment is way better. And so, yeah, that's certainly true here. Both of the arms, the muscles look a lot better, and they only attach one way, and that makes the model a lot stronger. And then you could say the same thing with how his head attaches and the muscles and stuff on his neck. It makes more sense and is more easily visible than what you'd see on some of the other orc models. So that is all good. The model also has some weird, like, undercuts, like, which don't, in the painted version of the model, they either, which you can't actually get a good view here. I think they either used, I don't think this is actually the plastic version of the model. Because, particularly if you look at his head, let's see if we can focus it right. His head, his one larger tooth here, if you turn it to the side, the tooth is a lot bigger than it should be based on like the undercut, and I've actually started to go in there and like cut out a lot of the excess unwanted plastic.
Okay.
And like I've started to do that with a lot of Games Workshop models based on like the undercuts and just difficulties of casting everything properly. I go in and start cutting out the unwanted plastic. And so for this, his tooth is much wider than it should be. So I've started to cut out some of the plastic in there to make it look better.
Yeah.
And then the other, so I haven't started modifying his slugger, but I'm gonna do something to it. It's gonna be smaller. It's still probably gonna be really large because it's an orc weapon, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be smaller than this.
Always kind of like the bulky nature of their pistols, like they're
I sort of
iconic
wish,
and
I don't think I
interesting
have
looking.
any of the, no, I might. I should look to see if I have any of the old plastic orc sluggos. I'd be interested to see how they differ in size to these. Like, I would think they're probably at least thinner.
Well, I kind of
than
like
this.
they also made those old Gorka Morka metal ones.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what they're like.
But yeah. And so one of the things that I've started to do, like one of the things that I really don't like about the model, the base model, or I think his feet are just too big. They're a little too big, and since they're so big, they kind of make his like lower legs and everything like that look really clumsy, and like I don't like it at all. So I've started just trimming off some of the excess detail to make the feet smaller. And I still have a little more that I think I need to trim off, and then I'll resculpt some of the detail. So it's not really a big change, but I think it'll, like, people probably won't even notice that I changed it, but I think I think it improves the overall look of the model, and he'll look a little less like bumbling and clumsy.
Yeah.
I also have modified his choppa a little too. I sort of simplified it a little thus far and cut off some of the extra teeth they had bolted onto the blade, which I thought looked a little weird. At this point, I'm not 100% certain yet, but I almost feel like the blade maybe a little larger than I would like to see it. Like, he's holding it like in this reverse grip, almost like it's a dagger or something. I feel this is a little too big.
It is
dagger.
large for a dagger, that's for
I mean,
sure.
It's a chopper.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, Mango Smasher. Glad to have you here.
yeah, nice to have you. I mean, obviously, this orc, you can see his muscles are big and bulging, so it's like he wouldn't really have trouble holding it or wielding it, but as we sort of talk about a lot with some of our models and stuff, like, I always feel the orc itself is what should be big and powerful and fierce looking, not the weapons.
Yeah. What almost makes me think of Brian Nelson's old Chaos Knights, like the mounted ones. Oh, they had a bunch of cool, like very simple axes and swords and whatnot. They weren't filled with all these chaos symbols or glyphs or whatever. They were pretty small, but very, I don't know, brutal and angular looking.
Utilitarian.
Yeah, and I think it just made them look very menacing and dangerous. Like, it wasn't like overdone, and it was just relying on sort of this simplicity of the design. I don't know. I really liked that. I feel something like this Orcs blade and a lot of the newer ones. It's like people won't know it's an orc weapon unless we add a bunch of extra metal teeth bolted on and some buzz saws.
Yeah. I just cut off the pistol barrel in the holster.
That's good.
I mean, even on the holster, it also has these like little metal teeth.
Which, and then the undercuts of them are kind of eh.
Well, yeah, you can tell, like, if you turn it to the side, they're way bigger than, like, they should be. So, I don't know, I think I'll probably cut them off, too. I don't think they look.
Oh, yeah, and it's just
good.
Like, that was just extra dumb detail that they added. Just like, we stuck on that pistol asset in ZBrush or whatever. It's just like, we better make it orky. Or that's the way it comes across. Maybe they didn't do that, but it looks that way. I can't say I know much about digital sculpting, so
I'm trying to learn. Well, so what's interesting, actually, so I still have some of them out here. And those new orcs in Blood Bowl, they're kind of interesting, and like they're really big and bulky as well. Which actually, let's compare. So
That's true.
they're even large. They're quite a bit larger than this orc here. But one thing that's nice, their feet are much smaller. Or
They're
maybe
even
not
armored.
much smaller, but yeah, because they're actually pretty big. But compared to like their leg muscles and all of that, they're pretty small. Maybe I should zoom out. They're pretty small, and I think that kind of it helps make them look less clumsy, as like I was sort of talking about earlier. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm going for here. Make it.
God, we haven't done much with Blood Bowl.
Well, no, I mean, this is the sprue that the fingers of the one
broken.
goblin were broken off, and apparently Games Workshop's replacing it for us, but
Yeah,
ever since I saw
they're
that,
they said they're sending out this.
I didn't really care a whole lot. Actually, I wonder how these Blood Bowl orcs, how do their head sizes compare?
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to see.
They're bigger.
Hmm.
Not much.
One thing, some of Brian Nelson's older models,
I
like
think
the
you're off
old
the screen, Adam, there for the comparison.
one thing with some of Brian Nelson's older models, like his old metal war boss, while I like him, his head, the jaw was maybe a little bigger than it needed to be.
His head was huge.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah, no, it is bigger.
It's a little bigger, not massively so. Man, the lighting
It's
here
not-
is not great.
That's a better head than the one on this new knob.
It is. It's maybe not like hugely bigger, like his head is like his mouth is open and all that, but it's still.
Yeah. Yes, matter to you, damn. Okay, so like each one of these black orc dudes, they're huge. Jesus. Like,
Yeah, they're substantial.
any one of them you could convert into like a war boss, and I guess that's most people are going to use Vera Ghoul Chewer. He'd make a good
Yeah.
base model to convert an orc war boss.
Yeah, I feel it's one of the better orc models released recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'd been playing Blitzball with a bunch of friends, but then I don't know, since kind of the Thanksgiving sort of time with COVID getting worse and all of those things, stopped really getting together.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be able to start again somewhat soon, but one of my friends got a copy of Blood Bowl, and I imagine they didn't do anything to assemble stuff, but I feel whenever I see him again, I imagine I'll probably get a copy of it and try to assemble some of the teams to try to play.
One thing that is also interesting about this orc model here, you actually have to be a little careful with how you assemble the model and follow the instructions, because if you glue on his like shoulder and his neck part, then you can't fit the arm in anymore. You'd have to trim off some of the nubs and stuff to get it to slot in.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the head too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But you have to be a little careful.
Yeah, Meandering Shade, the metal orcs and such for Gorka Morka were great. I still really liked what Brian Nelson did with the kind of third edition orc stuff, but they're kind of a little dated, and I feel when he went in and sort of kind of redefined that with the Age of Sigmar orcs, Now, it would just be so awesome if the orcs kind of got a redesign, but Brian Nelson actually took lead of it. I still feel he made the most characterful orcs, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And I
all the
would
ones
love
that
to.
Seb Herbert has made, they're pretty good, but they don't look as fierce, and they also don't really have much of a comical nature to them either. So like, they don't really check the boxes for me on either way. Like some of the
Yeah.
old like second edition comical orcs were sort of charming in their own way. But
Yeah, I agreed.
so yeah, I don't know if there are any other main changes that I want to make to the model. I have to, yeah, I'm gonna finish changing the pistol. The boots, I have to resculpt some of the detailing on them now that they're a little smaller. I might change his choppa a little more. Oh, actually, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. So, the they do that. So, what I was thinking I wanted to like trim down more of the choppa to make it a little thinner. And one of the things I was a little upset by, this like little bolt that holds the chopper blade on isn't really centered very well, so it would make that kind of difficult. But what's weird is they don't have this on both sides of the blade, so there's only one little bolt holding this blade on. And I guess you'd like to think that maybe the tang of the blade actually goes down into the pommel of it, but I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. I sort of feel like maybe based on that, I'll just trim a little more of this off and just resculpt the blade attachment point.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. And then there's not a lot of symmetry here. There's on this one side there's like a bolt on the little pommel, but on the other side there isn't. Huh. That's weird. Oh yeah, and there's a lot of the undercuts on the little strap on his little leather wrist strap aren't very good. They probably should cut that out too. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Yeah, I don't know. So there are a lot of little changes to make that I guess hopefully by this time next week a lot of that'll be done.
Is this the first thing you kind of think you want to do for like model related stuff in like 2021?
Maybe. Like I sort of feel like since I actually got the model and I was interested in actually looking at what changes and stuff were made to kind of like the 40k orc physiology. And now that I've started working on it, I feel I may as well try and finish it.
Yeah.
It would also
So
be
how
kind of fun
is
to
it-
paint the model too.
How is it size wise? Is it similar to like a Primaris model, or do you know?
I can. Oh. Yeah.
Greg, do you have any plans to try to do any noise recording or anything?
Like this year, you
Oh.
mean?
Yeah, soon.
I would like to.
Wow.
Jesus
sorry, Greg,
Christ,
but-
he's
but,
small
like
as fuck.
he's tiny.
Hmm.
So like this is I wish I had like an orc boy or something. I bet he's not that much different from an orc boy.
Yeah, wow,
That's
he's
something.
smallish.
This.
It's
Yeah,
like
that's
an
something else.
yeah, wow.
That surprises me.
Wow.
So how does? Okay, so these orcs, the the Blood Bowl orcs, they're actually big.
They're more akin to their size, even despite being very hunched, which is kind of an orc thing. But
I also got some of these Dark Elf, Warcry Dark Elf models, and I've been doing a little work with trimming one or two of them to just kind of get a sense of what they're like. And the main thing I have to say about them is they're really tiny. They're, well, I'll show you. Well, they're really tiny. Like, look at this.
yeah, wow.
They're smaller than the Blood Bowl Dark Elves.
Would be interesting to see what one of the like Age of Sigmar Aura like brutes, the regular dudes, is like. I bet they're about the size, the height of that Primaris.
Yeah, they're pretty
Yeah.
big. Yeah, so that surprises me how. I mean, he is
I
pretty
guess
bulky.
that's the thing. GW models, like you never know about the scale, what it's gonna be like, what the design brief was asking for.
Yeah, you really don't.
Why do you think they even made that orc model?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's like this doctor model from Forge World. Like, look at this motherfucker. Like, he's not that different. I mean, he is a little smaller, but it's not that different.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Actually, so let's look. This sprue, yeah, so this orc was from 2020 as well. So it's a new sprue. So it's not that he's been sitting around for a while. Wow, it surprises me how small he is. They're not even close. Who knew? Who knew?
No one.
Though I will say, like,
I didn't
always,
know.
yeah, I always sort of thought an orc range of models or an orc army would benefit a lot if there was a pretty wide range in sizes of orcs. Like, even among, like, a squad of orc boys, them differing a lot
Yeah.
in size would be kind of neat.
Like it would be cool if like the war bosses were like particularly big, but even like Dazkal Thraka isn't large, or not that large, just his armor's large. It would be neat if they were really large, then the knobs were also pretty large. And then if they were like, I don't know, guard boys or something like that that weren't quite as large, but were still pretty large in the regular. Yeah, it would just be neat to have like a range of sizes.
I'd be interested to see, like, how big Thraka is.
Yeah.
We know
Part
his
of it though
head's
is just
small.
head was small as hell. Like way
Yeah.
too small. Or it seemed way too small, I guess. It would help if it was in my hand, but
Oh yeah, no, in like a squad of orc boys, like the largest one would be the leader of the squad, and that would be cool. Well, so I feel eventually whenever they revisit the orc model range, I feel they almost need to like redo most of it.
mm-hmm.
And then they'll redo most of the like orc boys, and they won't be multi-part, and people will go AWOL. Or that
Yeah,
just sort of seems like that's what will happen,
yeah.
which is fine by me. Don't need them to be multi-part. Well, so Eric, what are you assembled that little Gundam model, and maybe you'll do some painting on that. Do you think once you're done with that, you'll get back to painting the halflings?
I think that needs to be
I
worked.
have this Treeman here to give you, Eric.
Uh,
You can paint him. Like, look how big he is.
yeah. I think the major thing I want to do is, yeah, I've said a little bit, is at least paint the next. They have the Blitzball team finished, but it would also be pretty neat if I maybe even pushed it a little further and had a Blood Bowl team painted.
This new orc model isn't much bigger than one of the plastic skinks. Look at that.
Wow. Wow.
I've taken to start, at least for Blood Bowl models, I've taken the filling in the bottoms of the bases with Milliput, and it gives the models like a nice weight to them. I kind of
Yeah,
like it. I kind of like it.
yeah, I have the next blood, like the next halfling here to paint. The last, and
That'll be.
little dude.
He's primed and ready. He's not wearing a helmet.
No,
He's
he's
holding the
not.
fucking football too, Eric. No.
Yeah, so that's kind of a shame. More to do, but he, like, his one hand's in his pocket, so that is less to paint, and the palm of his like on the ball, so that's. I kind of think a bunch of it will be fine. I do see there's a really terrible undercut in how part of his shirt isn't tucked in anymore, and like it's bad. Like the detail just isn't there,
Hmm.
and I guess I just didn't pay attention. Or, but the way they handled it was they just like painted in the detail and like the separation.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll have to do that.
That's fun. I mean, that is often a way to get around some of that. If you don't want to spend the time to like try and cut it out yourself, which sometimes that can be really hard.
Yeah. I'm just gonna paint it.
No one will ever know.
No. No, they won't. But after that, I don't even know. Probably still just keep trying to paint stuff.
That would be good. You have. I can give you back this halfling team. Yeah, the other halfling team, and you can paint them too.
Yeah, so potentially that.
Oh, you
But
should
then,
paint
like, the
some of the
tree man.
dwarves and stuff too to make a
That
old
is
world
true, I guess.
alliance team.
That's true. I could easily.
Because you have them and they're kind of ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be kind of fun to paint.
Paint some of those awesome human models.
Yeah, I wouldn't paint them. I'd paint the dwarves.
Yeah.
You could paint some of the human ones too. They're fine. I guess.
Maybe.
I'll give you the treeman. You can paint him. He'd probably be kind of fun to paint, like the different wood effects and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually kind of like this little Gretchen that they gave you with this orc. I think he's one of the nicer looking.
Yeah, I think he looks good. He's better than
A
some
lot
of
of the
those
newer
garbage
Gretchen
plastic Gretchen, which admittedly they're not really new.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time.
anything that's not that the Brian Nelson Gretchen seems like it's new. But it's not really.
The Brian Nelson ones, they were originally released in Gorka Morka, right? He never made any metal ones for.
I think that's true.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were all like Gorka Morka, Rebel Grots, and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah, which in itself is kind of amazing.
Yeah. The Rebel Grots were great. Some of their anatomy was a little weird, but they had the greatest, like, fiercest looking faces. Huge
Yeah.
hands. Huge fucking hands. Which I guess somewhere I have the new plastic red Gobo model. Be interested to see how large he is and how he compares to this. I guess Nickit here. Is he supposed to be a Gretchen or a? It's probably supposed to be a Gretchen.
Yeah, I don't even know.
His feet are remarkably small, which I think works well.
Yeah, Brian Nelson, I believe you're right. The first orcs that he did, he made some Warhammer
The big
Fantasy
ones,
ones.
yeah. They're
And
pretty
then
different looking.
he did the war boss on the boar as well, and
That
that
great shaman model.
the shaman with the big bone with the carved skulls in it. Yeah.
Yeah, which were all pretty great.
They were all great. Does anyone remember? I don't remember if Brian Nelson sculpted them, but around the time he joined Games Workshop, I think was when Jess Goodwin sculpted the first Sister of Battle models, and Nelson he sculpted like all of the missionaries and stuff. And at the time, there were also these like militia models. It looked really kind of stupid. They were
The
like
one with his
civilian.
hand behind his back, and
Yeah, and like were holding these big daggers, and they kind of had their shirts undone to look like sexy or something. You notice how they didn't keep them around for too long, but all the missionaries and preachers and stuff, you can still buy them. Not sure if Brian Nelson sculpted them or not. I don't remember. They weren't very cool. But actually, remember those? They also had those old metal Chaos Cultists. They were cool. Like one had a pistol with like a little like a rat emblem or something like on the pistol and whatnot.
mm-hmm.
I like them. I like them a lot actually. The orc shaman is incredible, and he still works really well in like any range. Yeah, I think Meandering Shade, those are the same models I'm talking about. They could have been sculpted by like a trainee. I just remember you'd always see pictures of them along with like the missionaries and preachers and stuff that Brian Nelson had sculpted at the time. They were pretty bad. They had these stupid looking stub pistols that were way too big. Way too big. How long until they make Primaris Legion of the Damned models?
That's interesting. Yeah, because that I feel would be harder for them to,
justify.
reason as to why they did it.
So they got larger when they were in the warp. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. No, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. So, what do you think I should do with his pistol, his slugger? Like, one thing, like, the pistol grip is, like, huge. And it's weird, it's almost at, like, a 90-degree angle with the main body of the weapon, which is also pretty weird.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm just tempted to, well, tempted to just cut most of the top of the weapon off. Remove the magazine. Replace the barrel. Like, the barrel will still have to be pretty large, but like, I wonder. You'd sort of think like the barrel should be large enough that these bullets that he has around his neck and the bullets like in the box on the ground, like large enough that they would work. And like, oh my god, fucking look at that. Like, can we like look at how the bore of this barrel compared to the ammo rounds he is, by like they're not even close. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, not even close. So it's just something different. Different. Works. If they believe it will work, it will.
Well, and then you can see like the rounds in the magazine. They're not. You see the shell casing, but you don't actually see the bullet. There's not really much space for the actual bullet in there.
Could be recessed inside the case.
That's true. We'll
Yeah,
say
that is
that's
true.
what it is.
Hey, unsupervised darkness.
Would these even fit? These little bullets on the ground, they would. You might be able to fit them, at least lengthwise, in this magazine. I'm thinking too hard about this.
They certainly didn't think about it.
No, they didn't. But so I think I'm just gonna trim most of it off. Give it a new barrel. Like, I feel I could even just just trim the magazine off entirely and sculpt something such that the magazine is in the pistol grip of the slugger.
That's true.
I think
Because
that's
some
what
of the old slugger designs, I think, were like that anyway.
they were. It also doesn't have an external hammer, which it also doesn't have like a charging handle or anything. So it doesn't have most of the detailing you would expect for like a working pistol.
I feel a bunch of that was on a lot of Brian Nelson ones, but maybe not.
I don't really know. That's
Maybe
something
not.
we could actually try and look for. It's been so long since I've looked at
Yeah,
the
agreed.
orc. Like the plastic orcs. Let's try and find pictures of them. Okay. So what do they look like? Can we actually get... Yeah, so, no, like, I mean, here is one of their sluggers. Or, are they sluggers? Yeah, like, there is a charging handle for it. And there's an external hammer, too. And there's a place where the shell casing would come out. Okay, so this one here is better designed than the new one. Okay, here's another one. What does this look like? This one's
Better
more...
designed.
Okay, so this one looks more similar to the one the Orc has, where it's like they don't... Most of it... Oh no, but
Mhm.
fuck, it does have a charging handle.
Yeah, it does.
Be really interested to see how the size of it differs. I bet they're smaller than this one.
Yeah, I feel they probably are.
Yeah.
They really have
Oh, look,
weird
here's...
backs.
They look like gorillas.
They
It's
do.
just they don't have their hands on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Their spines are really fucked up.
That new pistol that was added when they slightly updated this, that was on the knob, looks
Looks really dumb.
they made it work.
Yeah, so it's weird, like, just about all of the sluggers, they actually had, like, the charging handles and stuff. Also weird, like, the orcs, they have, like, little chains of bullets and shit, which the bullets are so small compared to their actual guns.
Yeah.
They're so small. Damn.
Yeah, orcs are interesting.
Yes, I'm like almost tempted to just replace like almost the entirety of the gun with something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at this. Yeah, this newer weapon that the orc, sort of like the orc knob had. Like,
Just
whoa.
it just looks bad. It looks worse in like all regards. Look at the ejection port. It's so much bigger than the magazine. They're like two barrels. The scope looks like even dumber than a Space Marine one, and that's saying something.
It's not good. Well, there you can see the weird spine these orcs have, and this looks better than a lot of them.
Yeah.
His feet are also not as big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel the orc range needs a lot of work. A lot of work. In many regards, I'm actually sort of surprised. Even these multi-part orcs, the arm attachments, they don't even look that
That
bad.
terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they look okay for what.
We're trying to get the multi-part thing.
Yeah, for what they were working with, they're not terrible.
And their heads are still great.
They are
Yeah,
great.
the heads are great.
Like, this head looks fiercer and more menacing than this new orc knob.
I agree with that.
I mean, they're similar, but it's not as fierce. Part of that, I think, has to do with these orc boys. Their heads are probably quite a bit bigger than this one.
That is true. I'm sure they're bigger.
Judging from the facial features of the orcs, that scope would be useless. Yeah, it's certainly useless.
Yeah, it's true.
The orc stick bombs are so big, like Jesus Christ. Like,
Yeah,
look
it's
at the
pretty
backpack
dumb.
he has. He's carrying 3 of them.
Like they're larger than their rockets.
They are, yeah, damn. That's something else. That's something else.
Wasn't that something that was added to the kit later?
Well, yeah, the old
They
bits.
sold a whole stick bomb kit that they just
Yeah.
added extra metal pieces like that backpack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stick bomb's a lot larger than that little rocket.
Wow, this orc squad was not painted well.
No. Look at that chainsword.
Like, bare minimum. Like, Jesus Christ. And even, like, this chopper, like, part of it, it's literally just straight black. There's not even a highlight. I don't blame them. And the
Yeah.
horn for this knob, the paint was chipped off at the end of it, so it's now black. Either that or they just didn't edit it well.
Yeah, it's clear they just didn't care, and they realized no one cared when
Yeah.
this was released. No one would care.
And no one did. Yeah, so I guess orcs probably just don't have stick bomb squads anymore in the rules, maybe.
Probably not.
Correct, because it was stupid.
It
Yeah.
was stupid.
I think they cost more points and then they were worse because they didn't have choppers. I don't even.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Third
Love it.
edition.
Love it.
Over 20 years ago.
God. That's remarkable. I remember getting that box, like the stick bombers, and like we got it like a Friday evening, and I think I finished assembling like the whole squad of 12 that evening. Jesus.
Wow.
Now, if how I work now, I probably couldn't have even finished assembling one that evening.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Things have changed
Mm-hmm.
for the better.
True.
For the better. Yeah, I don't know. I would working on this orc. It would be nice to kind of convert a few more orcs. Like I remember earlier in the life of our blog, almost like about once a year, we would have a post with an orc model. Like years ago, I converted an orc,
Mm-hmm.
a Burna boy who had a little Zippo lighter. And then I think the following year, I painted an old hammer orc model or a tin boy model. And then after that, I don't think I've done anything with orcs. So maybe this orc will be like a return to form, and once a year I'll do a new orc model. That's what I should do.
Mm-hmm.
Orktober.
I mean, that would be the time to do it.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, so Greg, Eric, try and hold me to that. Next
Yeah.
October,
Mm-hmm.
I should do something with the orcs. And I guess I'll
Yeah.
try and finish this orc here.
Yeah, no, it seems reasonable. I don't know. Do you think it's maybe about time we call this stream? I think
Yeah, I'm tired.
think we've run
Getting
out
tired.
of
We covered all the main points we wanted to
interesting
cover.
stuff.
Thanks for being here, Johnny, Meandering Shade, Unsupervised Darkness, Mango Smasher. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, everybody. Hopefully
Be
you're
well.
doing well.
Be safe.
Yep, enjoy the last few days. of 2020.
Yeah. We'll
Stay
talk to you in
safe.
the
We'll
new
talk
year,
to
I
you all
guess.
soon. Until next time, over and out.
See you, everybody.
Yeah.